So it began with a tip-off that every time Michael Storer was on screen, Carlton Kirby, the commentator for TNT Sports, would bring up this anecdote about Michael Storer stealing a boiled egg from him at the Tour of the Alps. And that's the kind of little nugget which you don't just present to somebody like, say, me, and expect to let it slide. Like, everything about that is intriguing. It's a specific allegation. There is a time, there is a place, there is a person, and there's two people that we can talk to and figure out what the hell is going on here.
And that person was like aiming for the podium at the Tour de France.
Yeah. Well, maybe if it had some more eggs, he would have got there.
Maybe.
So Carlton Kirby's version of the story, we slid into his DMs, or rather Johnny did, and we got quite a florid account, I would say, of Michael Storer stealing his eggs, or his egg. Johnny, do you want to... Can you do the voice?
Oh, florid. Is there a script for me to read from here, or... What
Well,
am
I
I saying?
I can send it to you.
I was quickly Googling whether florid was an adjective of Florida or meant something else, and turned out it meant something else. So I'm quite relieved. Although I imagine that Carlton probably does like a Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, I can read this. I mean, the text exchange with Carlton Kirby, I think that's my second now, 2-time Carlton Kirby texter. Amongst the most fun text conversations I've been in, where it is exactly like the commentary, where it's just great. There's all this extra sort of pomp and gadgets and gizmos, and it's great.
Okay, so we got into Carlton Kirby's WhatsApp messages, and we said, can you confirm that you have been accusing Michael Storer of stealing your egg at the Tour of the Alps? And can you tell us everything about what happened there? And then he came back with the following.
Classic technique by the miscreant. I'd put an egg in the multi-boiler, and as I was heading back to collect it, Michael asked how I was doing and lulled me into a full sense of security with compliments. Hey mate, you're a legend. Where's the next question? I peeled off and plopped a slice of whole wheat into... He says he types whole meat, but I imagine it's autocorrect. So whole wheat bread.
Or whole
into
meal.
The...
Could be whole meal.
Or whole meal. Oh, yeah, good point.
Or could be a whole slice of meat, in which case this is the maddest breakfast.
This is also classic distraction tactics. Into the roller toaster and went to get my egg, ... all caps, 5 exclamation marks, gone. There was no one else in the room. Suddenly I realised that the choir boy looks simply mask a dialed-in predator. Breakfast was clearly a race for my egg, and I lost. Michael went on to win the Tour of the Alps. I'd like to think that is, in some small way, I am part of that win. Fantastic.
Really good. So armed with this knowledge, we went to the Tudor bus and stood around there for quite some time one morning in a town that I don't remember the name of and probably wouldn't like if I did. And then the press officer came out, and she was quite nice, and she said, I'm sorry, Michael is in the office. And basically I wasn't allowed to talk to Michael Storer about the egg that he'd stolen because he was in the toilet laying an egg of his own. And
I was wondering if you're going to bring this up or save it after dark, but we've just put it in the main show. Great.
No, that's fine. So then we spent another couple of days trying to talk to Michael Storer about the egg and getting rebuffed. And then the press officer was getting a little bit annoyed by my persistence at showing up at the bus to ask a question which wasn't important to anybody. No, to anybody. I'll just leave it there. And then finally she was like, no, you need to go to the mix zone. And the mix zone, we probably talk about it a bit on the podcast, but for those who aren't across the logistics of Tour de France journalism,
it's a terrible place.
It's the worst place in the world. It's a weird cordoned off strip of like metal railing where reporters are forced into, and then they stand there along the railing waiting for the riders that they want to talk to go past. And then other journalists stick their microphones in the face of the rider that you're trying to ask your questions to, steal your stories, and then the whole point of you standing there to get a story, which you think is fun, is gone. But luckily, that morning, Michael Storer wasn't being spoken to by anybody else. So I called him over and I said, I was a little bit not panicked. That's the wrong word. But I was
Apprehensive?
not apprehensive. I think I just came in too hot. I think that's what we'd say. So instead of leading into him, I think I assumed.
Do we have
that
audio of
maybe,
this interaction?
I haven't listened to it. I'm too embarrassed to listen to it. Maybe there'll be audio of it, but
Can we just stick it in the show? Or is it too embarrassing?
It's probably too embarrassing.
Have we found your limit of being embarrassed?
Well,
This is great.
I think the problem was that I just sort of accosted him and I was like, Michael, I've got a very serious question for you. And then I think he was a little bit anxious, or
Yeah.
like he was, because
Yeah,
it
of
sounded
course.
like I was asking him something quite serious.
Yeah.
And then I said, Carlton Kirby has been on the TV commentary accusing you of stealing his egg at the tour of the Alps. Do you have any comment on this allegation?
Why would you do
And he
this?
said, his egg? And I said, apparently there was a boiled egg. And then I realized that I'd scared him a little bit, because this is the first time I've ever spoken to the man, and this is a deranged way to begin a conversation with anybody, let alone Michael Storer. So then I sort of segued into something which I think is interesting and relevant for our interests here, that I have read that he is a vegan,
Okay.
which would mean that he doesn't eat eggs.
Yeah,
So Carlton
true.
Kirby could just be making all this shit up. I don't know. So I just to get him back on side, I talked to an alleged vegan about his favorite subject, his veganism, and I said, "Are you a vegan?" And then he said, "No, I'm plant-based because vegan is restrictive and this is more flexible." I do eat eggs, and I said, "Did you eat eggs at the tour of the Alps?" And he said, "No."
This is
And
real
then I
gotcha
said-
journalism right here.
I just went in way too hard. I said, "Do you have any photographic proof of not eating an egg at the tour of the Alps?" Which is like kind of being asked to prove a negative, and it's impossible. But and then he said no proof, and I conceded that that's probably fair enough.
Was he enjoying this conversation by the end of it, or was he still not enjoying this conversation?
I'd say that he was coming around by this point, but he was still, I'd say, cautious, concerned,
Yeah.
maybe
be.
understanding
Yeah.
that there was a bit of fun being had, but not sure if he was the victim.
A random man with a mustache you've never seen in your life being like, I have a serious question for you. Did you steal an egg? Credit
But
to
anyway-
him for sticking around.
In the end, he said that he wouldn't have had an egg at breakfast because he never has an egg at breakfast.
Never.
Never.
Never, ever. Really?
I think Michael Storer strikes me as a creature of habit, and I choose to believe that if there's one man in the peloton that could give you a play-by-play of what his routine is in the morning, it is Michael Storer. He will tell you, "No, I do not eat an egg." And do you want to guess what he did have for breakfast that morning?
Big gulp of air.
Cocoa Pops and soy milk kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
So this returns our Cocoa Krispies or Cocoa Pops story.
Oh, yeah, it does.
What the hell is a Cocoa Crispy?
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. Well, not quite same thing.
Off-brand, no?
It's Rice Krispies are smaller. Now we've gone after dark accidentally on this segment.
Cocoa Krispies.
So I think I have an interest in Michael Storer becoming a friend of the podcast because he provides spicy quotes out of the peloton. He, as we're saying, like, is a very good bike racer. He was on the podium for most combative, right? At least once.
Yep.
It's a good bike racer, and willing to push back on Ian's bullshit, which I think is a.
Doesn't shriek in his presence.
So, but I worry now that we've gotten off the wrong foot.
I'm pretty sure we have.
I'm pretty sure we have, and I'm also pretty sure that after what he presumably thought would be an innocuous interview on the Hot Seat podcast is now turned into a full news cycle across cycling media in the doldrums of early August. So I think Michael Storer is in his iterative Icarus phase, where he will. Everyone eventually, every rider makes this sort of boo-boo unless they stop, caring. So I imagine this may be the first and last interesting tidbit we hear from Michael Storer for a while.
Is this
But-
his "they're shitting themselves" moment?
Might be.
That's really unfortunate because
the
part
Simon
of the
Yates
reason we liked him is
quote,
because he, you know, like not even just these instances. He kind of spoke his mind, and we like that. But Ian, I think you,
Yeah.
I think you, I think you messed it up.
I've broken
wow.
the friendship before
I
it's
don't
even
think
a friendship.
I think you can, Ian. I believe you can turn it around. You know,
Can we?
Ian's got it.
So
in
what
him,
is
yeah.
what is the conclusion of this of the egg story then? Where's the truth? Where does the truth lie? Because
I'm not a judge, Kaylee.
yeah, if you're
And
playing one
I-
on TV, where would you end up on this one?
I think that I side with Michael Storer, actually.
We should
Because Carlton Kirby makes some wild assumptions. I've looked up the dining room where the breakfast buffet was, and it seems wrong that there would just be him and Michael Storer and nobody else, no other tutors, no other team staff.
They could have all been sat down. He may have meant that they were the only two in the area where you get your food.
Yeah, but if you're getting a compliment from Michael Storer about how good a bloke you are or what a legend you are, you're not going to see, I don't know, Matteo Trenton sneaking in behind him and
That's
stealing
true.
your egg.
Also, pretty impressive to recognize visually a commentator, because usually it's not really
true.
there. You know, you don't know. You maybe Carlton Kirby was, I don't know what he's doing, talking out loud on his way
Just
to get the
hooting
egg,
around the buffet.
commentating what he was doing as he was doing it.
Oh,
I'd
yes,
kinda like
I will
that.
have some whole meat.
Oh, there's my whole meat.
I have pulled up the start list for Tour of the Alps, and specifically the Tudor Pro Cycling Team.
Oh, okay. Here's our answer: Larry
Larry
Warbass. Obviously,
I was gonna say,
obviously,
who, if not Michael Storer, the egg thief, who
Larry Warbass
was the egg thief?
thief
Yeah.
of fun, journalistic practice, and eggs.
We've got Michael Storer, Lucas Ericsson, Florian Stork, Larry Warbass, Robin Donze, and Arno Wallenborn.
Well, Florian Stork is immediately a name I don't trust, and I can't tell you why. But Larry Warbass is obviously the villain here.
I think also that there's a certain, and I'm sorry to our American listeners and any Americans on the call right now, but there is a level of breakfast buffet entitlement where you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to steal that boiled egg.
Oh, yeah, someone, obviously the staff here, made this egg for me because I tipped them, $40 on my way out. Yeah,
All right,
agreed.
Enough anti-Americanism.
Usually I don't get away with this on Thursday because I'm outnumbered 2-1. Well, you asked the question, Kaylee. I mean,
I did.
We're just giving the
I
answers.
did. No, so if not Michael Storer, then definitely Larry Warbass. I think we should follow this story wherever it may lead us. We're gonna have to get in touch with Larry and find out if he stole an egg.
I think
Carlton
this should
Kirby.
be a whole off-season courtroom drama where, from the listeners, we assemble a jury and they get to decide. And some of us can play judges, some of us can play lawyers.
I did think of sliding into the inbox of the hotel and asking for CCTV footage of the breakfast buffet.
You should have.
But I couldn't narrow the window down that precisely, so it seemed a bit of a.
Oh, I'm
a
sure
bit of a
Carlton
reach.
could. I'm sure we should reach back out and be like, best guess, which day do you think this was?
Well, the problem there is that I was planning to publish this story today.
No, publish
if
it.
we-
This will be the follow-up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can stay
just
on-
grainy CCTV footage of Michael Storer
Yeah.
interacting
Revealed.
with Carlton Kirby.
we can stay on the
CCTV
story.
footage.